Hi guys, my name is Brandy. Welcome to my kitchen. This is Sewing Back. Today I talk a lot on the channel. If you're new here, I try to talk a lot about eating fermented foods, soured foods, and things like that. And that's primarily because I struggle with a lot of food allergies. Some very severe, others more like hives, so it could be itchy skin, like I said, hives, sometimes sneezing, like allergy kind of stuff like that. But I have other allergies where it gets very severe and I will die, like my nut allergies. And so it kind of have different levels of that. And so I ate gluten-free for a number of years, over a decade. And matter of fact, I think it was about 12 years. And so I struggled on being gluten-free with a lot of vitamin deficiencies. Because when you have a lot of food allergies and having nut allergies and different things like that, there's just a lot of vitamins and things you're missing out on those foods. And while yes, you can go get a supplement and things, they don't always work like when we nourish our bodies the way we're supposed to. So I found it very challenging and started doing some more research in if I soured my grains and I used ancient grains, could I reintroduce those, because those have all of those vitamins that my body desperately needed. And that's kind of what I did. And so I'm now almost 2 years into that journey, and I'm not looking back. And so I'm not telling you, to do the same. You have to do your own research and figure out if that is an ideal thing for you or not. If you're a celiac, then no, this is not for you. You can do this. Actually, what I'm going to talk about, they do have one for gluten-free, and I would recommend doing the gluten-free one. But I'm doing one that is going to be an organic. I guess I should tell you what it is. I'm going to show you how to start your own sourdough starter using a Cultures for Health packet. You can get these packets on Amazon. If you do Azure Standard, they have it. You can order directly from them, especially coming up. They typically have like a Black Friday sale. A lot of them do them before Black Friday, and you can get all kinds of fermented starters to help you on that journey. I picked this one up because I'm interested to see the difference in taste compared to the one I grew myself out of kamut flour and water. This is really easy as I was reading the directions, so there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to do this. But I wanted to see, like I said, the flavoring and stuff like that. So they have different ones you can get. I picked this one out. This one intrigued me. They also have a sourdough gluten-free starter kit that you can totally get. You'll get a little packet like this, and it'll tell you what you need. So on this one, the San Francisco sourdough, the process is essentially the same. The main thing you have to learn with whatever kit you get is what kind of flour am I supposed to use. Now, this one is recommended that you go to your local grocery store. I went to my health food store. And for this one, you need to get an organic all-purpose flour, okay? And you still are going to get so many benefits, even if you go and you buy store-bought organic flour and you build yourself a starter, and then when you start making breads, you use the starter, and then you can use like a whole wheat with your starter, and you're going to get really nice crusty breads and all those things. It will still help you digest those grains. Is it as good as milling your own? No, it's not. But not everybody has a mill. Not everybody can afford a mill right now. It's still 1,050 times better than going to the bread aisle in your grocery store and purchasing what they're selling. Okay? So, I want to show you how to do this. So what you're going to need is you're going to have to get you a sourdough culture. Like I said, they have different ones. They have the San Francisco one, they have a whole wheat one, a rye one, and then, like I said, they also have a gluten-free, okay? The other thing you're going to need is you have to have filtered water. You cannot have chlorinated water. It will kill the yeast that'll be being picked up, and it won't work, okay? So you can't use your tap water. You need filtered water. I'm actually using my Berkey water because I actually get the filter that takes the chlorine out. And I've had no problem growing my other sourdough with that water, so that's what I'm using. You also are going to need a quart size mason jar. You're going to need a cotton towel of some sort, or it could be a piece of cheesecloth will work as well. A rubber band. I have a rubber band. Okay, that's helpful. If you don't, you can totally use the ring on your jar, you just won't use the lid, okay? And you will need a mixing utensil. Another thing I said you could use is if you have a coffee filter. I don't have a coffee filter, I don't have filters anymore, so that one won't work. And then you need your organic flour, okay? So that's all you need to start out your sourdough starter. And the other thing you have to realize is how when you start this, it has to be fed, okay? And the first week is really critical when you're feeding your starter. Now, you can feed it on a 12-hour shift or a 24-hour shift. You need to figure if it's a 24-hour shift, it may take you a little bit longer to get a really good going starter, okay? So that might double your time just a little bit. So instead of 1 week, it might be 2 weeks if you're only feeding it every 24 hours, okay? There is the process of discarding. You will move to that portion of it where you're going to discard. A lot of people don't like that because they feel like it's wasteful. Whenever I have discard, I do one of two things with it. One, I either give it to my chickens because it is fantastic for their gut health, and it's a real treat that they love. Or I take it and I'll use that discard and I'll put it in to make pancakes. So the one thing in the packet is you want to be using room temperature water. You don't want to have it cold. That's important. And so what we need to do is we're going to take our starter packet here. And I gotta get some scissors. I never can open these things. Alright, and I'm going to be feeding this every 12 hours just like I did before, and I'm going to video each time to show you how to do it, and hopefully this will all come out in one video, how to get it going. That's my plan. Alright, so I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Inside, that's what it looks like. So I guess it's kind of like a yeast little packet. And so we're going to put it in here. I'm going to get all that goodness, okay? The next thing you need is you're going to need to get 1 tablespoon of flour. So I'm going to open my flour. Should already had it open. My grandma will get mad at me. She told me to have my stuff ready. Alright, so I'm going to take 1 tablespoon of flour. Alright. I'm going to add it to, it says add the starter pack to 1 tablespoon of flour and 1 tablespoon of room temperature water in a quart-sized jar and stir thoroughly. Cover the jar with your cloth lid or coffee filter and secure it with a rubber band or the jar ring. You want your room to be somewhere, you want to set it somewhere where it's about 70 to 80 degrees on average. So I'll probably move mine closer to my oven. Plus, I don't want it to be around my original starter. So this is my original one. And it's well fed, it's all bubbly and good. And so to keep them separate, I will put this one, because I'm starting it out, I'll keep it by my stove and oven area, okay? So I'm gonna put my flour in here, and then I just have to I've already poured some Berkey water in here, meaning it's filtered water, it does not have chlorine. You can totally do a bottled water or something like that, okay? And so I'm going to take and flip my spoon, and I want 1 tablespoon of the filtered water. And now I just need to get something, oops, I got a little thing over here, to stir it with, to get it well incorporated. And as you can see, it's going to be kind of like a paste, is what you're going for. And so it says you are looking for your starter to bubble between feedings. That's the fermentation at work. So it says after 12 to 24 hours, remember you need to pick. Are you going to stay on top of it every 12 hours, every 24 hours? That's what you have to decide, okay? So I have, after 12 to 24 hours, feed the starter with an additional 2 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of water. Stir thoroughly. So we're not discarding anything yet, okay? We'll be adding up because we have to build this up. We're just getting it started, and it looks almost like a little, I'm trying to get all the little pieces, but it looks, let me see. It looks almost like a little dough ball, okay? And the reason that you don't want to seal it off with your lid is because you want air to be able to get through there, so that it's going to be picking up all the great natural yeast and things that are in the air in your house. And so that's what you want. It smells good. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I'm gonna take my little towel, and I'm gonna take my rubber band, and I'm gonna go stick this, I'm gonna go stick that over by my stove area. It is 12 hours later. I wanted to show you what our starter looked like, so I'm gonna take my rubber band off, my cloth, and we've got our little ball there. You can see it smells like dough. So we're doing it, whether you're doing the 12-hour, every 12-hour feed, or you're doing the 24-hour, the directions are the same. So I'm doing 12 hours, and then tonight I'll do 12 hours again, and I'll film that. So what I need to do is, for day 2, we are going to take our, I'm using the King Arthur organic all-purpose flour, and I'm putting 2 tablespoons of the flour, 1, 2, and then I've got, this is my Berkey water, so it's non-chlorinated water. Remember, if you don't have that, use a bottled water, distilled spring, something like that. All right, so now I'm going to put 1 and 2, and I've got my little stirrer here, and we're just going to go, oh, I just splashed that all over me. That's great. I got to go to church. Okay, I may have to add just a smidgen of water because that really just splashed all over me. So I'm going to give it just a little teeny bit. I'll probably do just a couple drops, but I don't want to overdo it, but yeah. And then all you're going to do is just keep that paste kind of going. You want to try to incorporate all the flour with the moisture. And your jar is going to get dirty. If you're a neat freak, I'm kind of a neat freak. My boys sure did try to work that out of me though. So anyway, you have to learn that kind of the gunk on the sides of these jars are good. They kind of get that yeast and everything. This is really good. It's kind of got a gluey. When we're at this stage, it's kind of, you got to work with it, but that's what you want. That's really nice. All right, and so all I'm going to do now is just try to get the excess off and in the jar. That's pretty good, I think. All right, we'll call it good. And now all you're gonna do with your jar is you're gonna take your cloth, whatever you're using, the same one, your rubber band or your band. If you do, it is Sunday night and we're doing our 12-hour feeding. We did one this morning. It splattered up. It got all in my hair. It was all over me. I didn't even realize how much it was on me until I got to church. All right, so for this feeding, we need 2 tablespoons of the King Arthur all-purpose flour. There's no discard. I just want to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to put this in here. Alright, so we've got our 2 tablespoons of the flour. Close that up, because we won't need it again until the morning. Set that out of the way. I got me some Berkey water. So I'm going to stick this in here. 1, 2, because it's equal parts of the flour and the water. And now I'm just going to try to stir and incorporate the flour. And again, it's just becoming more and more kind of gluey, which is what you want. That's what you're looking for, that kind of consistency. So you just want to make sure you don't have any flour that didn't get incorporated. Good morning. It's time to feed our baby. Alright, so we're going to take this off. I want to show you what it looks like inside the jar. Now before I feed it, it's a good idea to kind of get some movement in it. Alright, so for this morning's feeding, we're up to 1/4 of a cup. So we're gonna use our flour. And let's see, yeah, this is 1/4 cup. And so let me move my, so I can get all that in there. And then I've got to get the same with the water. This is the unfiltered water, or filtered water, I guess I should say. I'm going to pour all that in there. And there's still no discard yet. We're just incorporating. It's getting a lot easier to incorporate now. I'm actually seeing bubbles a little bit. So that's good. So we're just going to incorporate this, and then we'll feed it again the same thing tonight, because we're doing every 12 hours. Let me show you the consistency. Hold on. That's kind of what you're looking for. So I've got that. And now that's well incorporated. So get all that off. And I'm just going to cover it again. I'm going to keep it over because it's really cold in our neck of the woods. So I'm going to keep it over by my stove because it's going to do better or it's a little bit warmer. You could set it on your fridge. You can see in there, but those are some bubbles. Those, see that? Yeah, that's what you want. So to give you, this is day 3. And you have that. So for this evening feeding, we're doing the same thing we did this morning. So we're going to take our organic King Arthur flour. You can get it at any local grocery store. I think they even have this at Walmart. I'm doing 1/4 of a cup. We're not discarding yet. We're still building this up. So I've got that. I got a little spatula thing here, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of mix it in before I put the liquid. Oh yeah, that looks good. Let me smell this one. Smell it. Oh, that's good. I love the elasticity in this one already. Okay, and so we're going to do the same equal parts. So we're going to do the same with our filtered water. I'm using my Berkey water. If you don't have that, you just would use a bottled water. You can use distilled or spring. Should be fine. Alright, so now I'm just going to incorporate all of this. Yeah, you can really see the bubbles. And a lot of elasticity. This is going to be a good starter. I know that Cultures for Health are getting ready to have a big sale for like their Black Friday kind of thing. If you want to order directly from them, you can also get their products from Azure. They carry their products or on Amazon. So let me get this off. Yeah, it's nice. It's got a nice consistency. So let me. Alright, we're back for our nightly feeding of our dough baby. This is the last time before we will discard. And I don't know if you can see, but there's definitely lots of air bubbles in there. So I'm going to stir before I add the flour. Ooh, this one's a lot lighter too for mine. So I don't know if it's because I started mine with kamut or what. Alright, so we need to put a 1/2 cup of flour of the King Arthur all-purpose organic flour, and we're going to put 1/2 cup of non-chlorinated water, just like we've been doing. Except today's measurement is the 1/2 cup measurement. I gotta see if I can get this in here. Hold on. Set that over there so we don't get flour everywhere after we got the kitchen clean. Nobody want to clean the kitchen twice. Alright, so I got that. Alright, and I'm just going to kind of incorporate the flour as best I can before I add the water. So I'm just going to use the same cup. And now we're just going to mix this up. And I'm going to get this incorporated. Still kind of lumpy. So tomorrow we're supposed to get it down to, if I remember right, I'll reread it in the morning, but I think we're supposed to get it down to a half of a cup of starter, and we discard the rest. And I have some videos with some of the items you can do with the discard, like the pancakes, or you can do biscuits, you can do pizza crust. There's lots of options if you look online for other recipes for sourdough discard. You can't do a crusty bread with it yet. I did a master class on it with Melissa Norris, and she recommended that you waited to try to do a nice crusty bread with your sourdough till it was at least a month old. But you can do quick breads. And so you could do pumpkin breads, zucchini breads, banana breads, all those kinds of things. So those would all go well. And I just want to show you, first of all, see how full our jar is up to. It's past the 3. So it's up there. So we're just going to put our cloth back over it. I'm going to use my rubber band, or if you have a band, I'm going to set it back over by my stove, and I'll see you in the morning. And in the morning, we'll discard, and I'll show you how to maintain it after that. 4, so we have completed our first 3 days. So on day 4, it says that we are going to feed, we're not going to discard, we're going to feed our starter half a cup of our all-purpose organic flour. I'm using the King Arthur. And half a cup of your non-chlorinated water. We have nice bubbles. I could even hear it. I don't know if you could, but I did. I'd heard that. So we have lots of nice bubbles in there. I'm going to go ahead and stir it. Let's look at our consistency. That is a pancake consistency. That's what you want. And that's really the consistency you're looking for as you feed and discard your starter, okay? So today's the first day that we're discarding our starter. So I actually got a new jar because I think it'll just be easier. What you're supposed to do is, we are on day 5. You are supposed to discard down half of your starter. And then you will feed your starter with a half a cup of water and half a cup of flour. And we're still using our King Arthur all-purpose flour, okay? So I just got another jar because I thought it would be easier than trying to get everything out of this jar except for half a cup. So, and you can totally do that. So let me get my doohickey thing there. So I stirred it, and as I stir, I can see big bubbles. I don't know if you can see those. It's hard to see that on the camera, I think. For me, I can't tell with how big the screen is, if you can, but there is good action going on in this jar. Now, once we discard, you can take this discard and you can go ahead and use it in quick recipes. You can't do a crusty bread yet. This is not mature enough for that, but you can totally put it and do sourdough pancakes, sourdough quick breads. Matter of fact, the day before this video will go up, I will be putting up a new sourdough one I did for a pineapple coconut zucchini bread that I soured. I took an old recipe and I made it a sourdough recipe, and so I will link that in the description for this video, so that with your discards you could totally do that. But you could also do a pumpkin bread. You can do, I have a video on that, I'll link that one as well. I also have a banana nut one, and I'll link that as well. So you won't feel like you have wasted this. You can also have pancake ones you can use it with. You could do it if you want to do a biscuit. I don't have a biscuit recipe, but I'm pretty sure I know, because I've seen it before. Lisa over on Farmhouse on Boone, she has one where how she does her sourdough biscuits to put on top of different recipes and stuff like that. So, and I know there's others you can find as well for the discard. We're just not to the crusty bread yet. So you'll have lots of things you can do this for. The second part of that is, if you do have backyard chickens, you can totally feed them your discard or part of your discard, since you're going to be discarding each day now. Is so good for them. Okay, so those are some options that you have, and I'll try to, if I see anything good, I'll try to link that in the description as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get I have half a cup, and I'm just going to pour it out of this jar. All right, and I'm going to put it into this jar. And this is where I was telling you, long term, if you're going to be into sourdough, it will be helpful to get a kitchen food scale. It just seems to work better, in my opinion. You don't have to have one, but I have found I have a better starter when I'm using my food scale. Particularly as you start moving from building up your sourdough to the discarding and a well-fed sourdough. And I just have an old one my husband found at Goodwill. It's like an old Weight Watchers one. Works great. Been using it for years. When I was a teacher, I used it for science experiments and all kinds of stuff. I use it to do my sourdough. So, alright, so I've got all that out of there. And that's a lot of discard in there that you can use. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our flour. I'm going to get half a cup. I've got a different half a cup measurer. And this is just easier for me so I don't make a big mess. So I'm going to put that flour in there. So if you start looking up recipes for, well, one, when you get to a place of making like crusty breads and things like that, or just a lot of times if you look at different recipes for feeding your starter, discarding your starter, a lot of times you're going to find it in weights of grams, and that's because most of those people are using a scale. Okay, so just so you know. Alright, so we've got our flour in here, and just like normal, we're going to go ahead and start mixing that, incorporating it with our sourdough that's in the jar. And now I'm going to take that same half cup, and this is my filtered water. Remember, if you don't have that, you can use bottled water. You just cannot have chlorine in with your sourdough because it will kill it. You're going to pour that in, and now we're just going to incorporate. Lots of bubbles already. That's good. It's a good sign. And I'm going to continue to feed mine every 12 hours until I get to once I get past day 7, I'll move to a 24-hour feed. I just want to give it its best start, which is kind of what is recommended in the Cultures for Health booklet that comes with your starter. So you definitely want to reference that if you're going that direction. Clean that up. And so now I'm set until tonight. I forgot one thing. In the new jar, so you've got it in there. I wanted to show it to you. You're just going to put your cover right back on with your rubber band. Okay? So it's good. So I'll see you tonight. Okay, it's about that time. It is time to discard. We're going to discard half. Let's see if you can you see all the bubbles in there? Let's see. Can you see them? They're in there. So remember what I've shown you so far is you always want to stir up your mixture. You see that nice batter? It smells really good. See, do you see all that? That's just fantastic elasticity. And I'm going to put it over there. And the other one, I mean, this is nice. I can't wait to use this actually. Alright, so we're going to take one more so we get that half cup. Look at that. That's amazing. I'm not gonna lie, this is so much easier than the way I did it. Okay, trying to get all that off. Okay, I'm just gonna set that there. All right, so now that's what we have left. So we're gonna put a half cup of our King Arthur flour here. I'm going to do 2 of these because that's a 4. And remember, we stir it around before we add our water. Helps you to incorporate it. Alright, filtered water, just like all the other times. We're doing equal parts. So 1, 2. I think a little spilt out, so I'm gonna put just a smidgen. Alright. And now you just want to incorporate this really well. And nice bubble action inside. So this video will get you started on growing your starter, getting what you need to get this going. Next week I will release a second video on how to maintain your starter, and that will include, of course, each day, how you're going to feed it, how much to discard, all that kind of stuff. And I'll also talk about when you want a break, and like you're going out of town or whatnot, and how to store it and all that so that you don't kill your starter, because that's typically what will happen. People get it going, get it started, and then maybe they get sick, or they have a business trip, or they're going out of town for the holidays or vacation, and they don't feed it, and they didn't store it properly, and it dies, or it's just a moldy, nasty looking mess and people throw it away. And so next week's video, I'll kind of talk to you about that. And then the third week video, which will be after Thanksgiving, I will walk you through your first crusty bread using your new sourdough. Typically, if you're trying to grow a sourdough just using the air, flour, and water, they typically say it's better to wait about a month. But because this was a very good established starter mix, I feel pretty confident with what I've already seen that you'll be able to have a nice crusty bread by week 3. So that's what we're going to do. And again, remember, this I did with just store-bought that I was able to get organic King Arthur flour that you should be able to find in any grocery store. Not like Aldi's or Little, but you can totally find it at, I mean, you can get it at Walmart, your Kroger's, your Publix, Ingles, anything related to those. You should Target, you should be able to find these. You also, if you've been on a gluten-free, not for celiac disease, but let's say you've been on a gluten-free diet for autoimmune issues, skin issues, what have you, and you're trying to introduce real grains, even if you don't have a mill yet, this is still a great way to get started by souring real organic flour. It's not the best, but it's 1,000 times better than any loaf of bread you're going to buy at the store if you make it yourself. And if you get comfortable doing this, you know, maybe as you're saving up your pennies to get you a mill, you're going to be so far ahead of the game because you didn't wait till you felt like you had all the equipment, okay? So that's what you want to do. All right, so we are on day 6 of our starter, and we fed it last night. We discarded half a cup, and then we fed it half a cup. And that's what you're going to continue to do for the next 7 days. Okay, so then we'll be up to like day 14. Okay, and but honestly, it's not a bad way to go until you know you're going to start using it to like make crusty loaves. Then you're going to have more than just a half cup that you're feeding it. Okay, and I'll go over that in next week's video. But in between the 2 videos, discarding half and replenishing it by half is just fine. I'm also moving, tomorrow will be the last day that I feed this. Well, actually today's the last day where I'll do 2 feedings. Starting tomorrow, I'll only do 1 feeding every 24 hours. Okay, so if you've been doing the every 12-hour feeding, at this point you should be good to switch to that 24-hour feeding. And it smells good. I'm excited to try this one in this bread. I also have a good bit of discard from yesterday when we did the real big discard, and with that one I think I'm definitely going to feed some of that to my chickens, but I'm going to use some of it to do to make sourdough pizza crust, like make ahead pizza crust that I can put in the refrigerator. That's one of the nice things about sourdough is you can put it in the refrigerator for a couple days and let it rest. And it just gets a little more sour, and it's delicious. And so I'm also thinking I may do that to make some of my Thanksgiving pie crust to go ahead and like do that ahead of time, so that I'm not wasting anything, because I don't want to waste. All right, so we have our discard, and what did I always tell you? First thing you want to do is you want to stir, but can you see all those bubbles in there? That is a healthy starter, okay? That's what you want. All right, so this is a half cup measuring, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and I'll pour it into this one. I have 2 half cup measures. Pour this into I've already got my flour in the mixing bowl for the bread, and I'll explain that in a minute. Oh, that's got nice elasticity. I keep saying that, but it really does. All right, so we've discarded half, and now we need to put half a cup of our organic all-purpose flour. And now remember, if you decide to get a whole wheat starter, you have to use whole wheat flour, okay? And if you go to Cultures for Health website, Amazon, Azure, they all carry it. I forgot my little doohickey. Hold on. I'm trying not to get flour all over the floor. I don't know what it would matter. I got Odie's hair all over the floor. Today's floor day. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in here. You don't have to have this. I'm just trying not to make a big mess, or not as big a mess. Okay, so I've got that in my jar. And next part is we want to try to incorporate it with what's in there before we add our water. And you can scrape down the sides, all that good stuff. Alright, and I've got my filtered water right here. Again, if you don't have a Berkey or whatever, you don't have to have that. You can totally get bottled water. And if you use a well, I don't know as much. My grandma has well water. I don't know I know typically if you have a well, you're supposed to have your water tested. So if you know it's good and it's not going to affect your fermentations, then go for it. I just don't know enough. I don't have that, so I haven't used that. So I don't know enough to speak to it. And it's going to be, when you're discarding and feeding, it is going to be a little clumpy a little bit, and that yeast in there, they're going to eat all that jazz up. So that's why I always tell you when you open it up to stir it again and incorporate things. And like if you look on your jar, like you can see I've got flour. I don't know if you can see that. That's not incorporated right there. So you just kind of use your little spatula or whatever tool you're using. I've seen some people have the nice wooden ones to use. I don't have one of those, but I imagine those are probably pretty nice. But these work, and I like these. It's kind of what I'm used to. So again, don't feel like you have, just because you see people on YouTube or any cooking shows or anything like that you might watch, don't feel like you have to have all the things. I've been married for 32 years. It's taken me 32 years to acquire a lot of things in my kitchen. And you shouldn't assume or even feel or think that you have to have all those things to be successful. I heard, I can't remember, I don't know if my husband said this or if I heard it somewhere else. I think John might have said this, but he said you could give any kind of crappy appliance to Paula Dean. And I use her because she's from Savannah, Georgia. And he said, and she'll make something delicious, okay? So you don't have to feel like you have all the best of things. You work towards getting things, and you find a lot of times you don't need a lot of the things. You really can get by on just a few things. Alright. So, we have fed it. I will feed this tomorrow. I'm done with the 12-hour feeding at this point. I am going to put my, oops, I moved my thing, sorry. I'm going to put my little towel back on, my rubber band, and I'm going to sit this back over by my stove. It's good. And I'll feed it tomorrow. In 24 hours, I'll discard. And that discard, I'll either make something with it, like I said, either the pizza crust or pie. So anyway, with that, if you found value in growing your own sourdough starter using the Cultures for Health, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please leave them down below. If you are finding that you like our channel and that you want to be part of the community, I appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel. And if you know someone who likes these things, or they're trying to learn, or maybe they're trying to get a little bit better control of their health and they're interested in gardening and learning all these different things, please share our channel. We would appreciate that. But with that, I will see you soon. And next week, like I said, I will have another video similar to this one, but it's going to be about maintaining. How do we maintain? How do we maintain our starter? And then I'm going to get you to that place, one, that we can come to a place to make the crusty bread that everybody wants to try, okay? And two, how we can store it when we need a break, or we're going out of town, or maybe we're not feeling well, maybe we just don't want to feed it every day, we don't need it every day, depending on where you are in life. So I will have that video next week, and so I'll see you next time. Bye.